Hello again for an unprecedented third news video of the day, which is kind of insane, but we've just had some breaking news from Dave Meltzer in the Wrestling Observer newsletter that we thought we needed to share with you, but Michael Hamflett has the details.
Yeah, a bit of a juicy scoop for a Friday afternoon, this one, Phil. Britt Baker has been suspended and fined by All Elite Wrestling. This is coming from Dave Meltzer of the Wrestling Observer, obviously. It's got quite a lot of information about a disciplinary procedure that has taken place that has resulted in the suspension of the fine of the only recently returned Britt Baker, DMD. The quote from Dave is as follows: Britt Baker was suspended for either 1 or 2 weeks and fined by the company's disciplinary committee. Details have been kept pretty quiet. It came from something backstage at the July 17th edition of Dynamite, where Britt Baker allegedly said something about MJF, and Alicia Ratu, who's MJF's girlfriend, heard it, told him, and then he confronted Britt Baker. There was an investigation with HR talking to people on July 24th, and Dave Meltzer believes the disciplinary committee that did the investigation recommended the suspension and the fine. Dave goes on to say he doesn't know if Tony Khan was or wasn't involved in this, or if there was an attempt to keep any of it under wraps or anything like that. Of course, on screen, Britt Baker was suspended by the EVPs, the Young Bucks, on behalf of Mercedes Moné as part of their ongoing story. But obviously, elements of this have proven to be real. The Meltzer goes on to say this all stems from problems in the past that weren't addressed, and a committee was put together to settle these things quickly. Most of those we heard from in the situation were sympathetic to her. So, yeah, a blow up it seems between Britt Baker and MJF. Obviously, MJF is engaged to Alicia Ratu, which is perhaps, how sort of she's become mixed up in this. And Britt Baker, we kind of just speculated there before we came in to record, presumably serving, if it's a 1 to 2 week suspension, has served 1 week already and may also be absent from the upcoming Dynamite.
Yeah, it's obviously very early days with this. It's only just broken on the Wrestling Observer newsletter, so there will likely be more of this that we will bring to you as and when we get it, likely on the news video tomorrow, when there's been time for other people to go, what is this, and start reporting on it. But yeah, if it seems like she's had the sort of 1 week suspension, we'll have to wait and see for Dynamite whether that's going to be a thing. I assume it's not going to be addressed on TV in terms of this. Like, they're going to try and keep that separate to what is actually happening on TV, and hopefully it doesn't derail anything for All In, because obviously she was leading into a huge match with Mercedes Moné on that, which is kind of the dream match that we've all been hoping for Mercedes Moné. So I really hope that doesn't get affected within all of this. But yeah, like early days, obviously very he said, she said at the minute. So like hard to figure out the sort of facts and actually what happened one way or the other until some more people can get some contacts on the go and kind of figure out what this is.
Yeah, it's the fact that it's Britt Baker is maybe why we're talking about this right now. It's a huge story in the sense that, as you point out, the Mercedes Moné match features the kind of maybe the biggest star that division has ever signed versus the biggest star in its division's history. You know, like she's this original within AEW, has rose to prominence through AEW. You know, the fact that she's a dentist kicks ass as well. But yeah, like the disciplinary committee, the things we associate with the likes of everything that went on with CM Punk. I think Eddie Kingston and Sammy Guevara might have gone through that process as well. You know, there's always the jokes about Bryan Danielson finding people for tweets and the like, but there are very real reasons why this sort of process is needed. And as Dave has kind of alluded to there, whether or not all of this is supposed to get out for the likes of us to be able to aggregate, we don't know. But you know, a storyline suspension often hides things like this, or like injuries or whatever. But it's not even just Mercedes and Britt involved in this. We've recently seen the debut of Camille as Mercedes Moné's heater, which theoretically feels like it's teasing the return of Jamie Hayter to maybe appear at Wembley alongside Britt Baker. Certainly the idea that Britt would need somebody to level the playing field has allowed people to speculate that. So this match being thrown into jeopardy doesn't just have a knock-on effect on the direct parties, does it? And of course MJF as well.
I was just going to say, MJF's only just made his kind of return really, and Alicia too as well, like not been doing the backstage stuff for that long.
She's just been signed officially, hasn't she?
So there's a lot in the mix here, and a lot of plates spinning. It seems like AEW at least have tried to keep this under wraps for a little bit, which is probably a better way than they have done things in the past.
The story getting out when it's been resolved rather than midway through.
It feels like they have learnt their lesson from how these things need to be resolved in the past, and trying to get this done amicably and behind scenes, so they can just move so it doesn't involve disrupting all of the TV programming and things like that, and they can just move on from it, having put sort of things in place like the suspension and the fine and things. So Yeah, we're just gonna have to wait and see. Now that it's out there, no doubt every wrestling reporter in the business will be trying to find another scoop to continue this.
It is the blessing and the curse of an AEW that it's fairly plugged into the online space, that they know that their fans will probably be acutely aware of this, and it's really hard to then separate the two things, or fact from fiction, when you see these characters on screen. Not that Britt Baker and MJF necessarily need to interact, but it's now something that will hang in the air should they ever kind of come together for whatever reason. And I guess, like, what are your thoughts on this, like, kind of breaking story, I suppose, the suspension of Britt Baker so soon after she returned? Forbidden Door, where she returned obviously immediately, and she's only just wrestled a couple of weeks ago ahead of the All-In match. Let us know in the comments below. You'll probably know more about the story than we do as you are watching this video, because as Phil points out, these things do tend to break and build, and there'll be other little bits of information filtering out. So have AEW got across it? Do you think this teases potentially more backstage incidents? Is there anything more that you as little scoopers in the comments want to let us know? By all means, let us know. We'll be reading the comments. But
wrestling drama.
It's great, isn't it? It's always really great. But yes, it does seem like this one has been handled as professionally as possible by the committee. And I guess if you want to see one of the other 2 news videos that we recorded today, like, how would they do that, Phil?
They could just continue on their YouTube journey by clicking this video right here.
We'll see you soon.